Magnus Carlsen starts with the king's pawn opening, signaling an open game. Both players opt for the Petrov defense, a solid and well-respected choice. Carlsen captures the pawn on e5, and Rapport responds by attacking the knight on e5. Carlsen's knight retreats to d3, and Rapport captures the pawn on e4. Carlsen develops the queen, putting pressure on e7 and the knight. Rapport defends the e7 square by moving the queen. Carlsen's knight moves to f4, eyeing the d5 square. Rapport prepares to fortify the d5 pawn. Carlsen's f3 move drives away Rapport's knight from f6. Carlsen develops the bishop to f5, putting it on an active diagonal. Carlsen advances the c4 pawn, supporting the d5 square. Rapport plays h5, a prophylactic move to prevent Carlsen's knight from jumping to g6. Carlsen's knight moves to c3, reinforcing the d5 square. Rapport develops the knight to a6, aiming for the c5 square. Carlsen's king moves to f2, preparing to castle kingside. Rapport's knight jumps to b4, creating threats. Carlsen's queen moves to d1, vacating the d1 square for the rook. Rapport castles kingside, ensuring the king's safety. Carlsen's knight on d3 captures the knight on b4. Rapport pushes the d-pawn, opening the center and counterattacking. Carlsen's c5 pawn captures Rapport's knight on d3. Rapport captures back with the knight. Carlsen captures Rapport's dark-squared bishop on d3. Rapport sacrifices his knight, delivering a discovered check. Carlsen captures the knight on e4, bringing the queen into the attack. Rapport captures the pawn on e4 with his own discovered attack. Carlsen's bishop on e2 defends crucial squares. Rapport moves the queen to f6, creating threats. Carlsen's bishop on e3 continues its defensive role. Rapport captures the pawn on c5 with his bishop. Carlsen's rook on f1 becomes active and attacks the f7 pawn. Rapport checks with the queen on h4. Carlsen's king moves to g1, escaping any potential threats. Rapport's bishop moves to d6, attacking Carlsen's pawn on h2. Carlsen's rook on f5 captures the h2 pawn. Rapport checks with his queen on h2. Carlsen's king moves to f1, seeking safety. Rapport checks again with the queen on h1. Carlsen's bishop on g1 protects the f2 square. Rapport advances the g-pawn, opening lines on the king side. Carlsen's rook on f7 captures Rapport's pawn on f7. Rapport counterattacks with his rook, doubling on the f-file. Carlsen's bishop on c4 attacks the f7 square. Rapport's bishop on h2 goes back to h2, protecting the rook. Carlsen's king moves to f2, escaping any potential threats. Rapport captures the pawn on f7 with his rook. Carlsen's bishop on f7 captures Rapport's pawn on f7. Rapport counterattacks with his rook on the f-file. Carlsen's queen moves to b3, threatening to capture the g1 bishop. Rapport checks with his bishop on g1. Carlsen's rook on g1 captures Rapport's pawn on g1. Rapport checks with his queen on h4. Carlsen's king moves to e2, avoiding further checks. Rapport checks with his queen on g4. Carlsen's king moves to d2, seeking shelter. Rapport checks with his queen on f4. Carlsen's king moves to d1, preparing to defend the c2 square. Rapport captures the pawn on f2 with his rook. Carlsen's knight on e2 supports the c1 square. Rapport moves the queen to f5, targeting Carlsen's pawn on f3. Carlsen exchanges queens, simplifying the position. Rapport captures the pawn on h3 with his queen. Carlsen captures the h3 pawn with his g2 pawn, simplifying further. Rapport's rook moves to f3, targeting Carlsen's pawn on f2. Carlsen's rook on g3 puts an end to the game, and Richard Rapport resigns. A thrilling and dynamic game where Carlsen showcased his strategic mastery and emerged victorious.